Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're doing live vibe coding. So for those of you who haven't been on one of these before, the whole point of this is to be able to show that we're moving from this chatbot era of AI into this agentic, agent-driven version of AI. What people think of when they utilize AI tools, they think about going into a text box and utilizing it on things like ChatGPT and stuff like that, where you're inputting in something and then you're getting an answer back. And that was fine for 2024, but that's not where we're at right now. There's growing capabilities here. And the whole point of this session today isn't to go, here's a step-by-step tutorial, here's how to do this. I want to show you the art of the possible. I want to show you how you can create these things in a meaningful way and start to really develop an idea about what the future is going to look like. So every time I come into one of these sessions, I normally come in with a bunch of different tasks that are capable of being utilized. So quite often we'll be looking at document creation, we'll be looking at designs, we'll be looking at app development, all of these kind of stuffs all in the same space. And that's because I want to be able to make sure that you're seeing the value of these kind of applications and that you're thinking outside of the box when it comes to how they get utilized. So I have a bit of a prompt for today's session. We're going to be going through a few different things. What I want to be able to do on this one is we are going to do a pitch deck. This is an investor's pitch deck. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do it for this session today is because, it's essentially something that people come up against all of the time. Not only is it going to do the design, the physical design of it, but it's also going to be looking at doing the research, your TAM, your SAM, all of the stuff that you need for an investor's deck in order to be able to kind of come through. Also going to be designing a carousel. There's been some new EU regulation that's come out this week that's talking about AI labeling and how that needs to work for AI products as we move through the future. So I wanted to design a carousel that I can put on LinkedIn for that. And also we're going to be trying a application. Whether we'll get it all done within the space of half an hour, we'll soon see. But essentially, the application is going to be an 8-bit office that has agents in that we're able to talk to and interact with. And we're going to be putting that on a web link to basically see if we can get that all to work. So you can imagine that's quite a lot for one session and one agent. What you'll see is there is a visual aspect of what's going on. Instead of showing you the terminal, you're used to being able to type text into a terminal. I'm showing you what the agent's going to be doing. And we're going to talk through it at the same time as it doing so. So let me get started. And the whole point of these sessions as well is I want to answer your questions. I want to make sure if you're curious about anything, if there's something you want to be able to figure out, if there's something that seems right, seems wrong, you want more clarity on, then put it in the comments and we'll see what we can do. So let's get started with today's agent getting a go. So basically, all I've done at the moment is put into the AI agent the description of what I've told you there, the things that I want doing, how I want them doing, the process of what I want to be able to do. That's prompt engineering. That's going to be something that you're really used to. That's how you interact with AI normally. And that's how essentially a lot of our agents work anyways. They work on this same thing of you clarifying that intention. In fact, one of the best skills that you can utilize when utilizing AI agents is being able to understand the clarity of the outcome that you want, because it can only do something if you're clear on how you want to be able to get there. So we can see at the moment it's thinking through all of that. What you'll notice is this is our orchestrator agent that's going to sit in the middle. But what we will see is it's going to spin off a bunch of different agents in order to be able to kind of complete these different tasks. So at the moment, going through a thinking process of what it's going to take, how it's going to go about it. It's quite a lot to be able to put in one thing. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. First of all, we want some clarification. So our response back is, I'm just going to tell it, just asking for permission to move forward. So let's go and tell it to make it happen. What you also find is when you get back from these agents is, a lot of the time it's clarification on different questions that you might come up with. So at the moment, all it's done is said, hey, I want to be able to turn this into action. Can I just double check you're happy for me to download X, Y, and Z projects, which I've already given it permission to be able to do. It also wants to be able to access part of the documents because I've got some founding documents that it can utilize in order to be able to do it. So yeah, and now it's also going into being able to go, right, let's clarify this into what we want to be able to go and do. So hopefully we'll start. It's asking me how flashy I want to be able to basically do things. So I'm saying, hey, look, we're on a webinar at the moment. We're trying to do this live. Let's make it flashy. Let's have a look at how we do these things. This is because normally a lot of the time when we're developing it, I'm always going to it, come up with a simple answer, come up with the way that's going to be the most optimized for what we want to be able to produce. And now what we're going to see is it kind of coming into a space where it's like, okay, let's figure out how to do this. So what we're getting is responses back. All of this AI agent sits on its own machine. It sits in the corner. It has basically a whole operation that it can work from. So it can utilize tools, it can utilize protocols, it can find out lots of different ways of being able to go and complete a task. And essentially, it's going to look at the different ways that it is able to go and complete those different operations. So it has access to digital tools and stuff like that as we go through. We're starting to see back, and it's starting to understand the context of the work that we're doing. So hopefully we'll start to get our responses. When you see things like that, what you can see is it's utilizing operations on the computer. So it's got its own computer. It's able to write scripts. It's able to digest skills, all of the kind of things that it would need in order to go and produce these different outcomes. And we're getting... What I am going to do is we're getting some questions coming back through, which is not a problem, but my ability to type and talk is non-existent. So let's make these things happen. Cool. So what we should see is our agent starting to spawn out on our screen. We've also got a skill here called Pencil, which is essentially our AI agents being able to utilize it for document creation and stuff like that. So we've done a bit of a pre-flight check to make sure that it could open up it, be able to put a design in there, stuff like that. So we're starting to see that come through. If anyone has any questions as we're looking at this development and as it comes through, then do feel free to put them in the comments. Obviously, always happy to help people learn this, as it's a new world that we're moving into, and it's obviously not something that people have had a lot of training on or a lot of information on. So do feel free to put those in the comments and in the questions, because then we can go and answer them. Great. We are starting to see it come up with our game plan here. You're not seeing it in the demo bit at the moment, because that bit is very much the case of not when it's doing responses, but when it starts building. So you'll start to see the build as it comes through on there. You also don't have to just use these kind of things with Claude Code. So I'm using Claude Code today. There's other AI agents that are out there that you can utilize. You can even do it on local models. What you tend to find is they might struggle with some of the bigger projects, but if you're talking about small tasks, you can run it from your own machine, from your own computer, so you don't have to always be tied into these frontier models and places like that. So you're going to see within the next few years a growing capability of local models to be able to do this, things that you just run from your computer, rather than being able to kind of have to always rely on frontier models to be able to do it. You might always find those frontier models being better, but you'll start to see agents all over the place being able to do it. There we go. We can see our orchestrator now spinning off the different agents that it needs to be able to go and do the work. So we have an action plan. What this basically means is this is an agent creating a swarm team here. So what I mean by that is, well, there's one agent sitting in the middle, but it's creating a bunch of other AI agents in order to go and complete different tasks. So we start to get this team of agents that come together, and each one of those is running different operations in order to achieve different things that we're looking to be able to do within the state of this session. So what we are going to see is then we start designing. We're going to start to see our carousels being built. We're going to start to see our pitch deck research being done, and hopefully our pitch deck being designed in the same moment as well. And this is where I think it always starts to look impressive, where you're really moving into a space that you can see how that changes from what we're used to. If you're used to being able to use a ChatGPT interface or a Copilot interface, you're used to being able to go onto a screen and it's just a text box with a language model coming back to you with answers. This is more than just language models now. This is about being able to do coding. This is about them being able to go and find information, utilize their own tools, develop on their own systems, develop your own projects. And each one of these tasks that you see coming out, these green bubbles that you start to see between the agents, I'll zoom in a bit. Each one of these is a command or a skill that the agent is utilizing in order to go and achieve a result. And you can see it's all being orchestrated in the center here. What we've just seen is it's gone and clicked over to our style guide. So when I've been going to the agent that's designing the pitch deck, I've said, look, I've got a style guide for how I like the branding to look for this particular product. What I want you to do is go and scan that beforehand. So before you develop anything, we get a consistency across what we're doing. That might be fonts, that might be colors, that might be the way that things are put together. So at the moment, it's just opened up that document and it's scanning through all of the information that's on it. So we get consistency of design. So one of the biggest questions that I get, particularly from marketers and organizations, is they want to be able to make sure it always runs consistently across everything they do. So all we need to do is train our AI agents on how to be able to do it. And that's where something like this really comes in help. I'll go back to our agents and see what they're up to over here. What you can see is that we have our web search agent here. So this is from our organization that's doing the pitch deck. We can see that not only have we got our orchestrator agent here that has started doing a task and spin off an agent, but our separate agent over here has then spun off another agent. And that agent is going and doing the web research, looking at the conditions, looking at the regulations that reflect the pitch deck that it's trying to design. What you can see is these agents start to shut down as they've completed the task they've done and the orchestrator has the information that it needs. Those agents will open up and close down as they're needed. You might need persistent agents in the future if you've got things that run in the background that you need to have constantly running. You might have an agent that just sits there. I've got 28 agents that sit in the back end of my business that operate different parts of the organization. And that means that it magnifies my output, but they also keep their memory. They keep a way of being able to work. And that means that they can continuously improve as they go through. So it's really useful to see things like that as we kind of move into our agent development. And what we will hopefully start to see is now they've opened up a document and scanned it. Once it's done all its research, it will start putting that into being able to develop a deck. So coming through with all of the information that we need now. Let me see if we've got any questions at the moment. If anyone's got any questions, they want any clarification on what's happening, then do feel free to jump into the comments. Love to be able to kind of chat to you a little bit more about it. So as we're starting to see this kind of shift from an agent, from a chatbot interface to an agent interface, you can imagine if your small business is developing and looking at being able to kind of get into a little bit more of the agent space, you're going to see this improvement in how we get through the work and tasks that we're being able to get done. We've got some questions on resolution. So it might just be because we're operating on a very small screen at the moment. I don't know if people are accessing it on their phone or computer, but let me see what we can do to help with improving any resolution as we look through. I think it might be, it's because it's streaming in quite a high quality at the moment. If you have poor internet connection, it might be a little bit more blurry. I'll do it at 720 next time. I've done it at 1080p because it's like, oh, my computer's fast enough to be able to run that, and my internet speed is all connected. But then also at the same time, you've got to look at people's resolution on the other side. So I'll keep a note for that for the next time we go live. But hopefully most people are able to see it. If you're on a wired connection or you're plugged into an Ethernet, you might be able to find this looking a little bit cleaner as it comes through. So we have our orchestrator agent. What you can see here is this token part. So tokens are basically the currency that AIs work with. If you're thinking about effort, energy, price, that all comes down to tokens, and tokens are basically the AIs being able to take pieces of information and be able to turn it into a tangible way of being able to go and complete a task. So they break down the query that you give it, and they break it basically into numbers. Those numbers are the tokens that it uses to work out the relationship between different things within the task that you're asking it to do. So my guess is this one's looking a bit idle at the moment, so I probably have a bunch of questions over here that need doing. Yeah, you'll end up seeing tokens are essentially one of the big conversations at the moment, because people are like, computers expensive, and it's probably going to get more expensive. So it'll be really interesting to see as we move into the future that token cost versus the actual cost of paying somebody to do it. I'm putting together a blog article at the moment, and it's basically discussing, is it going to be cheaper to have a developer or an AI agent in the future? Is it, which one's going to get the results that you're looking for, and which one's worth on price? So we can see our agent is now spinning out some additional agents as well to be able to kind of complete some tasks on this. So hopefully we'll start seeing some results coming through. It's a lot of information that we've asked it to do. We've asked it to do research. We've asked it to do multiple different projects with very different work streams. So I'm not surprised it's taken a little bit long to get our acts together with it. But hopefully we'll start to see some of the results as it starts developing that stuff. I can see that it's just harnessed the carousel design skill, which is a skill that I've preloaded. I have a way that I like my carousel designs to look. So it has templates that it can utilize, and that should mean that once again we get consistency as it comes through. Let's have a look on our questions and on our different streams. Very small, so we can see that there is small text on screen. Cool. So the reason that it's probably small text on screen is because I keep zooming it in and out. You won't see a hell of a lot in the text at the moment. I'll explain that in a sec. But yeah, the text I've kept very small at the moment. What I have is, this is a visual way of being able to look at the agents, but I've actually deliberately hidden a lot of the text, because we're talking about often things like sensitive information and stuff like that. So you can see me talking you through it and explaining what's going on and giving you the information from me being able to see a more detailed bit. But just on the off chance from a security point of view, what I want to make sure is we're not seeing lots of commands that are being run in the background. So yeah, it depends on how zoomed in I've got things at the moment. So yeah, you might see, particularly if you're on, yeah, you can always also open up the screen to be a larger screen. So if you're looking at it on LinkedIn or something at the moment, and you have it on a smaller screen, there should be a open up to full screen option, and then you'll see a little bit more information. But you're not missing a lot when it comes to the text. What you can see is I've deliberately made it vague for when we're doing these webinars. I can explain to you what it's doing, and that will probably be more context anyway, because they only ever flash up for a few seconds at a time. But yeah, we can see that it's starting to go through some of the design stuff. Not a problem. I've just had a comment come through. Thank you for clarifying. My pleasure. That's the whole point of these things. And if anyone has any questions of what's happening as we're going through, let me know. So this is our AI over here, and we can see that it's starting to design a carousel. I don't know if it's done the best first attempt on the slide one, but we'll give it a chance. You know, it takes work. Not everything works through on the first time. We'll see what happens. And I'll leave that to kind of keep going as we look through. Let me magnify it as well, so you can see what it's going to start working with and how it's going to go about it. So yeah, essentially we want it to be able to design the carousel. It should have the information. I gave it the articles that I wanted it to be able to go and find out. And let me just check our terminal itself to check that it's not waiting anything for me. It's found all the images that it needs to do. So I've got different images. It knows where they sit on the system, so it can go and utilize them for different projects that we're doing. It's always nice seeing these things being developed in real time as well. Pencil was basically like a combination between a basically canvas for AI, or Canva for AI. If you ever utilize Canva, this is basically a version like that, but it's designed specifically for AI agents to be able to utilize. And it's not that we can't tweak things on it. Quite often as it's designing things, I go, I don't like that there. I'm going to move that up here. And we can see that it's done its next page. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to give it some advice on the design bit. So quite often it will do a first pass. The first pass isn't normally necessarily the best one. What it normally tends to take is a couple of passes where it will do the first bit of designs and then it will run through and it will start to tidy them up. So that's what we're starting to see here. And that's the kind of carousel looking at the new EU AI regulation, the EU AI Act that comes into force in the next 6 months. So they released guidance the other week, which is essentially going, these are the labels that we want on AI generated content. And the whole purpose of that is going to be so you can tell what's real, you can tell if something's been faked, and also to the extent in which it's been AI created. So one of the clarifiers that they have on it is, has it been AI modified to something that might be considered a deepfake? So maybe it's that something in the background has been edited or something like that. That would then require a change on that, on those stickers and those labeling, so people can trust what they can see. I think one of the biggest challenges when it comes to AI generated content is the better and better it gets, the harder it is to believe that what we've seen is actually what we're seeing. And that obviously changes our trust in the internet and the way that we work. Not that there hasn't always been things being faked on the internet and stuff like that, but it's a good place to be able to look through. So I can see that our carousel is coming through nicely. It's doing that task first. Let me get it to run up some of the other tasks. I hope wherever you are keeping cool as well. It is very warm today. So I hope that, yeah, you're not finding it too difficult wherever you are. Cool. There we go. Starting to see our carousel stickers coming through, our designs coming through. And I'll make sure that it does a few passes to make sure that the layouts all look good. In fact, we can tell it to go and do that. Cool. So yeah, we're just giving it a little bit of information and making sure that the layouts are well positioned as it works through it as well. And we can go back to our AI agents, having a look at what they're doing, how they're doing it. So we can see that they're spinning some more agents off at the moment. This is because it was going to do it one task at a time. So it was going to do the carousel, then it was going to do the pitch deck, then it was going to go and do the site. And I wanted to do some of that stuff in parallel. That can sometimes create problems. You're obviously confusing sometimes the thing that it's trying to do. And because we're trying to do a lot in 30 minutes, that doesn't necessarily always bode for the best results. But I think in the interest of showing you what's possible, I think that's a good way to be able to do it. Let me see, we're starting to see some agent responses come through. And it's getting there. We've got our carousels being set up. Some of the text needs to be better fitted in the boxes, so I'm going to tell it that. And let's see as it comes through. anyone got any questions as we are looking at it, being able to do these kind of designs? What do people utilize AI for at the moment? What's your biggest use case? I'd love to be able to find out how people are getting the most out of these kind of things at the moment. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see people's thoughts. Yeah, and how are you utilizing it? Are you using AI agents? One of the big questions that I've had this week, and it keeps coming up, we had Fable, which was Anthropic's model. There was a new model, Frontier model. It came with a lot of security stickers attached, and people who were utilizing it through chatbot interface, going on to Anthropic and stuff like that, they were like, I don't really notice the difference between Opus and Fable. And I'm like, were you using it through a chatbot interface, or were you utilizing it as part of, you know, developing an agent doing pieces of work? And they're like, oh, just as a chatbot bit. And like, the future of AI models is not you noticing improvement in languages or the way that it works through the chatbot interface. The future of these agents is actually that agent bit, those capabilities to go and do tasks. And what Fable was fantastic at, if you were a developer, was it being able to actually go and look through different tasks and do multi-agent runs. And what that meant is, instead of trying to one-shot something, it was good at being able to do really long protocols. So it would be able to do something that maybe took half a day, maybe a little bit longer, and it will start to run through the different ways of being able to do that and hold the context, because that's the thing that normally gets lost through these things, is it understanding the context all of the way through. So let me jump back on to our streams here, and let's have a look at how our agent is getting on here. Cool. So you can see that it's tidied it quite nicely. Maybe a couple of things that I'd improve on it. Once again, we can utilize this like we would do Canva. So I would say maybe that text is just slightly big for that box there. And then we can go and we should be able to change our size. So let's go and look for our, I'm just going to do it with the box. Nope, we want to be able to find our font, our line height. Nope. I've got all the boxes condensed at the moment, so I can do it for the demo bit. But I'll probably tidy that up afterwards, where essentially we should just be able to change the font size, and we can reduce it a little bit. Cool. What we should start seeing, so I've got a demo link here, which is going to be for our 8-bit office, and we're going to start to see how that's coming along. I'm going to need to reshare my screen with you on StreamYard. Oh, this is our 8-bit platform. So this is our agents that are working in our organization. What you should be able to do is we should be able to start interacting with them and working with them. But this is just an 8-bit office of showing how things work. So let me change my screen and share the new one. So yes, this is our 8-bit office, which essentially it's just been created right now. It's on a demo link that I utilize for any time we do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how that's turned out for a first pass. Let's see if we can interact with any of them. I'm not expecting them all to be working straight away, but that's not bad for getting things off the ground. Obviously, if I wanted to develop it further, we take a little bit more time to be able to put these things together, but it's created that within the duration of the time that we've been on here. So our little 8-bit office of people working and our AI agent. So the whole point of this is, as a project, is to be able to create like a visualization of a workplace when it comes to agents and be able to interact with them. So yeah, we can start to see some of those conversations. It'll probably need a few more iterations, but a good first step. I quite like it. Let's go back to our decks and let's see what's going on there. Let's have a look. I need to switch my screens around. Let's go into our agent screen. So we can see that it is coming up with the pitch deck at the moment, which was our other task of the day. And start to see it develop that as we go through. So sometimes I don't like it to generate AI art or AI images because I always find that they look a little bit terrible in a pitch deck. But what I do is get it to do product shots. So if there's something that I need to go and find, it will leave a space for it for me to be able to go and do it. So we can see our nice tightened up text here. And yeah, hopefully working through the research that it has from our information. Sometimes you get much better products when it's done a lot of research beforehand to make sure that it knows what it's doing and it's done the background of what makes a good pitch deck and stuff like that. So it's developing it as we go through. So we actually we haven't finished all of our tasks, but at least we've been able to see all of our tasks. Remember, we started off with 3 things that we're trying to do: a carousel around the new EU AI Act. We had our 8-bit office created on a demo link and application. So just a first pass of being able to do that, which it's done a decent job of. And we can also see that we're starting to get our pitch deck for this product being designed. So we went away and did all the research, everything that an investor would need for a pitch deck, and then it's put it up on our screen there. So this is what I'm kind of hoping to be able to show you as we go through all of this kind of stuff. Is I want you to see that AI is more than just single, let me go into a chatbot. You could get it to do so much more, and you can get it to do it really fast. The problem is that you need to be able to have that clarity of intention to be able to get that outcome. And as hopefully you've seen today, if you've stuck with us throughout the whole time you've been on, you've been able to see that, it doesn't necessarily always give you results in the immediate second by second, but that's the future of AI. Is not everything is about instantaneous response. It is about being able to get it to build things for longer durations. If you need it to go and do research for a whole day to come back with better answers, then get it to go and do that. And that's what we're starting to see as we work through. So if you are interested in learning more about AI, you want to be able to kind of develop your skills within those spaces, then jump onto the website, Bykov-Brett.net. We have a /learning page. There's a bunch of different resources that you can download there, including step-by-step guides, blog articles, videos, everything that you need to kind of start to dipping your toe into this world. And obviously, if you're setting up your organization or you want some support being able to do this, I deliver training on this kind of information, as well as supporting organizations to develop the workflows and everything they need in order to be able to get the results that they're looking for. Because this is different than what your organization is doing right now. I can guarantee that if you're just about putting your Copilot licenses and everything together, you are really just getting started on the journey. So as we move forward into that, I want you to really think about how you're going to design your organization, where you're going to have a world with both your human workers and your AI agent workers working in tandem with each other, and how we can get the best from that. So I want to thank you all for joining today. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's really hot, so hopefully this was interesting. It captured your imagination a bit and showed you the art of the possible. And you'll start getting started with AI agents soon. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a message, and I look forward to catching you all in the not too distant future. Have a wonderful day.